What if there could be a possible scientific explanation for all the paranormal experiences everyone goes through, or that those that have experienced it go through? The sights, the visions, the smells, sounds. Maybe you've gone through an experience as well, and one of these explanations could possibly explain on a scientific level what caused it. Feel free to hang around as we discuss that in this video, and let me know what your thoughts, opinions, and feelings are in the comments down below. Alright guys, so I did want to say real quick before we get into the content of this video, if you enjoy content like this and the rest of the content that you find on my channel, feel free to click that subscribe button down below, as well as the bell notification to be notified of all my future upload. And feel free to click that like button down below. Helps the channel out a lot. And also, if you do enjoy this video and you enjoy the rest of the videos on the channel, and you would like to be able to get exclusive access to things like behind the scenes footage, as well as polls and different things that could help determine future content that comes out on this channel, feel free to consider going over to my Patreon. That link is going to be in the description down below. That will give you access to exclusive behind the scenes footage, live Q&A sessions, monthly live streams, as well as possible early access to some of my content. Again, that link is going to be in the description down below, and please consider checking that out if you would like to support the channel. Now, for those of you that might be familiar with the paranormal already, you might have heard about how spirits can utilize something called electromagnetic fields in order to interact or speak and communicate with those of us here to let us know that they were there. But upon doing research, I found something interesting out that apparently through studies they have found that electromagnetic fields can actually have an effect on our brain, which can lead us to believing we've experienced some form of a paranormal activity going on, whether that's thinking we saw something, hallucinating something, or thinking we've heard something. And they've done some research into this as well and realized that some of these locations that people are claiming are highly active and haunted also have elevated levels of electromagnetic fields in the area, which could have that impact on the brain. And that effect on the brain that they're talking about is affecting the temporal lobes, which could lead to hallucinations, thinking you're seeing something that's not really there, and possibly believing that you're hearing something that's not actually happening, which could in turn lead people to believe there's a paranormal activity going on when there actually isn't really one going on there. And that in turn can lead to people starting these beliefs that there's spirits and ghosts affecting an area when they're not actually there or not actually present. And that's just one of those few things I found during research in the video that I thought it could actually be kind of interesting for a video like this where we're discussing possible scientific explanations. And if you guys would like to, feel free to comment down below. Let me know what you feel about this explanation, whether or not you think that there could be electromagnetic fields that are actually affecting the brain and causing the brain to perceive something to be there, when in reality it's just the magnetic or electromagnetic fields affecting our brain. Just to tie a little bit of that up, there actually was a study done by, I believe it's some neuroscientists. Yeah, it was neuroscientists. And in their study, they found that through transcranial, I think it's magnetic stimulation, that whenever they were looking at the neurons in the brain, that when enough energy actually passes through, like a thunderstorm, something like that, that can actually cause a connection to happen between neurons, like an electrical signal to pass through. And they have actually found through this particular study that in that effect can actually lead to causing hallucinations and causing people to believe that they perceived something to be there when there actually wasn't something there to begin with. Now, for reason number two, a possible explanation for that is going to be something a little more simple, and that's going to be hearing stories from people about an area, hearing stories from people related to your local area, and how that can possibly affect how your brain perceives something going on there. Do you remember maybe going out camping with some friends, or you spend the evening with a friend and they tell you a particularly creepy story, maybe even one that's even believable to an extent? Do you remember that feeling it gave you, the goosebumps, that kind of on edge feeling like something might be watching? Well, if you take that feeling, what's to say that that doesn't have an effect on the brain when it comes to something like a ghost story? There's portions of the brain that will actually incorporate stuff away into the subconscious. And when it has stuff in the subconscious there, it's not always going to be something that you're consciously thinking about. And with that being said, what if that is to lead to something like you're going into a house, but someone keeps telling you this creepy ghost story about it? So your subconscious part of your brain is actually maintaining that information while you're in exploring that house, and something happens. What's to say that it's not the subconscious side of your brain that's, in a sense, making your brain perceive that something's there that's not actually there, whether it be seeing something out of the corner of the eye, or seeing something move like curtains, or hearing a sound that could be explained? What if through hearing these repetitive stories, your subconscious side of your brain is playing tricks on you, causing you to believe that there's actually a spirit or something there, when in reality, it's actually not really anything going on? Now, I feel like this one could be a pretty interesting explanation, because I believe it's actually could be perceived as an easy way to explain why you might perceive a paranormal uh, activity going on, or might perceive a spiritual activity going on, and could show how the subconscious side of the brain could actually end up playing into and leading into things going on that someone might perceive as a paranormal or a spiritual experience, and how that can affect the way that you perceive something that's going on, which I honestly felt like was a pretty interesting way to think about it. And if you guys want to, feel free to click that comment box down below and let me know what you think. Leave a few comments about if you believe this could be something that could explain why people are experiencing something, or why they're perceiving something, or feel free to debate about it and let me know why you don't think this could explain why someone might be perceiving something. And also, while you're down there, feel free to click that subscribe button down there as well. And feel free to click that bell notification button to be notified of all my future uploads. Also, feel free to click the like button. And you'll also notice that there's a little description box down below there. And in that description box, you'll find the link to my Patreon, where if you feel like supporting the channel by choosing one of the 3 tiers on that page, it'll lead you right there to be able to do that. And by choosing one of those tiers, you not only will get a shout out on the channel when the next video uploads, but you also gain access to a lot of cool things like behind the scenes footage. You'll get access to live Q&A sessions where you can ask me questions and I'll provide answers within reason, of course. And then you also get access to live streams and also be able to take part in polls and things like that, which could help determine what type of content shows up in the future on this channel. So keep that in mind. Have you guys ever realized how there's hauntings that seem to take place in older buildings, maybe even abandoned buildings, and how they're not always currently inhabited? What if there's a possible explanation for that in the terms of maybe toxic hallucinogens that could be present in those locations? Because if you think about it, an old abandoned building or an older building might not have all the ventilation that current buildings have, so where you get a lot of this mold and dust and sometimes even asbestos hanging around. And what if through breathing that in, it can cause you to start hallucinating and possibly seeing and viewing things that aren't actually there? And with that being said, view it as, think of how different hallucinogens can affect people that use things such as shrooms. And what's to say that the spores from mushrooms and things like that aren't going to be trapped in the stagnant air that's in an older building, allowing you to breathe it in and hallucinate and see something that's not actually there? Do you think that could be a good possibility or a possible explanation for why someone could be experiencing something? So if you think about it, these different things do have effects on the brain and can be studied and seen and shown with reports based off of how the brain is acting based off stuff that's in the system. And maybe they only experience it in that area because when they're in there, they're breathing in these spores, they're breathing in this dust, and they're experiencing this stuff. But then when they leave, they're back to good ventilation, they're back out in the open air, it starts clearing out of their system, and they don't have the effect of the hallucinogens anymore. The one argument that I would have against this one, though, is I feel like if you're breathing in something, usually it would take a little bit for it to get out of the system, so why wouldn't the paranormal views and hallucinations be seen after leaving the area if they're actually experiencing hallucinations and stuff like that off of these spores and off of this dust and things that are in the older abandoned videos and whatnot, or buildings, I mean. But I feel like it'd be interesting to see what you guys have to say about this, so feel free to let me know in the comments down below. And I think that's going to do it for today's video. So if you haven't already, click that subscribe button down below. Consider going and viewing the Patreon page as well, if you decide that you would like to support the channel in that manner as well. And as always, enjoy life, take it a day at a time, and I'll catch you all next time.